everybody out?
Sorry, Danera.
Oh, I was going to ask one question, but okay.
Okay, everybody
Open it up.
ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. We'll get, as soon as we have additional attendees, we'll give them 2 to 3 minutes to join. We'll get started. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We'll give everyone another couple of minutes to get on board here, and we'll get started. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm Georgina Vivian with the RPA Technologies and with the outreach team. I'd like to first say thank you for attending tonight's session regarding the special event in Sacramento County, in the Sacramento County subregion. It's regarding the Caltrans State Route 99 Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan, or CMCP. As well as the related transportation planning process.
El plan relacionado con el proceso de transporte.
We will be recording this session tonight so that we can capture all of your great input. Next slide, please. Today, we will host the meeting with Spanish simultaneous interpretation. If you are a monolingual English speaker, no changes to your setup are needed at this time. Catherine with Linguistica and the outreach team will now provide you with instructions to access the Spanish channel for those Spanish speakers who would like to hear tonight's event translated into Spanish. Catherine?
Catherine?
Hola, buenas noches. Si usted habla o prefiere escuchar en español, seleccione el icono de interpretación que parece a un mundo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Luego seleccione español y no olvide silenciar el audio original. Si usted está usando Zoom en un teléfono o tableta, seleccionará los 3 puntos para ver más opciones, seguido por interpretación y después español. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Next slide, please. I would also like to review some other housekeeping issues before we get started. All attendees will be muted during the session, and your video will be not available during the event. If you have a question during the presentation, we ask that you please post your question or comment in the chat box. We will monitor the questions and present non-repetitive questions as they are added to the chat box and when the presenter is available to answer them. Next slide, please. There are several agencies and firms that are involved in this important study. They do include Caltrans Districts 6, 10, and 3, as well as members of the Jacobs consultant team, including Jacobs Transportation, VRPA Technologies, AIM Consulting, and Linguistica. All of us have traveled along State Route 99 over the years for our daily activities, whether we're commuting to work or we're going using State Route 99 to access jobs and shopping and services. I personally have traveled every day for 7 years to downtown Fresno from Madera and travel it now for work both north and south of Fresno. Now it's your turn to let us know how you use State Route 99. Help us learn and identify your challenges with the corridor, and most importantly, help us identify solutions that address those challenges. That's really going to be key to this study. At this point, I'd like to briefly review the agenda for the remainder of this hour-long event. We have a full agenda tonight. Members of the study team will provide you with an introduction related to the planning process, plans and programs that have been developed prior to this plan. And there will be polling questions throughout so that you can provide us with your opinions regarding State Route 99. We will provide you with some background information related to previous planning, as I just noted, and with some information related to current conditions, existing conditions. It will also be important for us to learn about your solutions or your methods that could be used to address challenges along the corridor. What do you think are some really great solutions? And we're going to be asking you to identify those tonight. Finally, we will identify the next steps in this planning process so that you can continue to be engaged, because we're going to need you throughout this entire planning study. Next slide, please. I will now turn the presentation over to Danira Soto. She is the branch chief for system planning with Caltrans District 6. Before you get started, Danira, maybe you could provide some inspirational discussion about why you use State Route 99 and why it's important to you. Danira?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Danira Soto. I'm actually Caltrans District 3. So
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
District 3.
I'm actually, instead of giving you a scripted, verbiage of how we use the corridor, I'm going to actually tell you some personal experiences of how, I've been on the State Route 99 corridor. I currently live in Sutter County, just north of Sacramento County, but I'm actually originally from the Central Valley, Stanislaus County, actually. So my first experience on State Route 99 started, I know I'm going to age myself here, but over 30 years ago, back in 1990, while I was commuting from Riverbank, which is just east of Modesto. I did this for 2 years before I moved to Sacramento County. So during that time, there was a lot of congestion, and I was sharing the road with fast-moving big rigs. I remember one morning, it was a stormy morning, a big rig came flying on the side of my car, and I flew across the freeway almost into the shoulder. I was pretty lucky there was no cars next to me, or that would have been another story to tell. And as a 19-year-old at that time, that was pretty scary. Later, I moved to Sacramento County, and then I started using a State Route 99 to go back and forth from Sacramento to visit family back home. And at that time, there was a lot of construction going on in 99. It seems like my experience, I felt like there was always construction going on on 99. So, but eventually, sometime between 1992 and 95, I actually stopped using State Route 99 from Sacramento. Instead, I would take I-5 and cross over in Stockton onto 99 into Modesto to just completely avoid 99 unless by accident I forgot to cross over in Stockton to come back to Sacramento. However, this past weekend, I was visiting family. I was coming home and I was like, okay, I'm going to purposely get on 99 northbound and was traveling 50 miles per hour from Stockton to Sacramento, like past Grant Line Road. And this was a Saturday afternoon at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And even though I say nothing has changed with that quarter, because, if you're traveling on 5, there's not much out there from Sacramento to Stockton. But 99, there's things you can see and, you stay engaged on the road. But anyways, so that's why we're here today, really, is to find out how we can plan better for this, especially with our growing communities and getting people up and down State Route 99 efficiently and safely. So your input to the development of this plan is really important. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Danira. Next slide, please. For our first question, we would like you to get a sense of where you live along the corridor or in relation to the corridor. If you were with us in person, of course, we would have you sign in and give us your zip code or your, and have a map to have you identify where your residence is. But instead, if you could please provide the city and zip code in the chat box, that would be wonderful. We'll give you a couple of minutes to go ahead and do that, please. So Doug, are most of the attendees from the Sacramento region?
They are. We actually have a couple of folks also from Davis, within the region, of course, but just outside, just off of the 99. They must be fans. And we also have Foster City. I saw a Galt go by as well, and Elk Grove too.
Great, we have a good sprinkling of the subregion. That's great. Thank you so much for your input. Okay, now Dina Graham with VRPA Technologies and the outreach team will be loading a first polling question for tonight. So Dina, if you could go ahead and load that question. So the question is, why do you use State Route 99 most often? Answer A is to commute to work. B is to go to the store. C is to reach services such as medical services. D is to get to school. E is to visit friends and family. And F is for leisure services. And then G is other. If you choose G, if you could go ahead and in the chat box, go ahead and list what G means. What is the other reason you use State Route 99? And we'll give you a couple of minutes to answer this question.
Few more maybe to come. We've got about 19 out of 27.
Okay. Another minute or so.
Looks like we're at 21 out of 27.
Okay, let's go ahead and close the poll, please. So it looks like E is the most popular answer, to visit friends and family. And the others are pretty much tied up. Doug, what do we have in terms of the answers for other?
Yeah, thanks. Anthony noted that he specifically uses it for intra-state travel. So connecting to all the parts of the state. And it sounds like Chris uses it for basically all the purposes combined.
Okay.
Wouldn't pick two, which is
Okay.
more than fair.
Yep, that sounds right. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking that, for giving your answers. That's wonderful. Next slide, please. Okay, we now have a video we'll play for you that has been prepared to highlight the State Route 99 planning process. The video provides a great overview of the planning process and is very informative, so we hope you like it.
Caltrans is developing a comprehensive multimodal corridor plan, CMCP, for State Route 99, SR 99, from Bakersfield to Sacramento. SR 99 is crucial for goods movement and interregional connectivity. Although sections of SR 99 have been improved over the years, more work is needed to address growing safety, access, and traffic demands. The CMCP will guide future corridor decisions considering transportation trends, emerging technologies, community needs, and state and local policies. The planning area includes Caltrans Districts 3, 6, and 10, and 8 counties in coordination with their metropolitan planning organizations and transportation planning agencies, as well as local agencies and community partners. Caltrans has been planning for a cohesive SR 99 corridor since the early 2000s through Caltrans District's Transportation Concept Reports, California System Management Plans, and the SR 99 Business Plan. These efforts highlight multimodal opportunities for enhancing the SR 99 corridor. When complete, the SR 99 CMCP will carry forward the vision of these plans and reports. The Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, Senate Bill 1, established the Solutions for Congested Corridors program with an annual budget of approximately $250 million. This program funds projects that deliver specific, measurable performance improvements and align with comprehensive corridor plans. These projects can span state highways, local streets, public transit, rail facilities, cycling and pedestrian infrastructure, or necessary mitigation efforts. The CMCP will showcase agency coordination and robust analysis, enhancing the region's competitiveness for federal and state funding. Over the course of the next year, we will be looking not only to our partners and local agencies for input as we develop the CMCP, but also to you, the users of the corridor. We will be hosting a series of virtual events at key times during the planning process, both to inform you and to request your feedback. Virtual meetings will be held in each of the counties. Please join us to help identify priorities, concerns, and solutions that improve the SR 99 corridor and adjacent communities.
Great, thank you. Our next presenter is Seth Torma. He's the planning practice lead with Jacobs Transportation, project manager. He will present the information on the background planning process. Seth?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to be speaking slowly to allow for the translation. Next slide, please. So it's important to note that we are not starting from scratch. There's a long history of studies along the corridor dating back decades, and we're building on that prior experience here. And you can see a number of those Caltrans-led studies that are listed here, dating back all the way to 2005. But in addition to those studies, we're also looking at each of the regional plans and relevant local and citywide plans as well. So we are building, we're not starting from scratch, we're building on a large body of work. Next slide. The purpose of the State Route Comprehensive Multimodal Corridor Plan, and that's a mouthful, CMCP. It's a multimodal plan, and what it is aimed to do is identify a range of multimodal opportunities or strategies to improve and enhance the State Route 99 corridor. It's not just right on the freeway. It encapsulates a broader look at the corridor on either side of the freeway as well. And it is a state-funded planning study. It aligns with state and local and regional plans and goals. And so you'll see some of those goals that we'll be building on here in a moment. And the purpose of the study is at the end of it, we'll have a long list of multimodal projects that have been developed through this process and organized for future funding opportunities and implementation. Next slide. This is the process that we'll be following. We can really break it down into 4 basic steps shown here. That first step with the big question mark is really our opportunity to analyze and understand the corridor. So we do that both with a technical analysis look. We're collecting traffic volumes, we're collecting safety information, physical information, environmental, demographic information, but it's also informed by listening to and listening to the public in meetings like we're having here today and with our various technical stakeholders and agencies. The second step of the process is to analyze the gaps and opportunities. What are the challenges, issues, and opportunities in the corridor? And once again, that's building on some of the technical analysis that we've done in that first step that define the characteristics. But it's also largely informed by that important step of listening to you all and gathering your input. You live and work and play and leisure and drive and take transit on this corridor every day. And so we have a series of public workshops, this being one of them, that we'll be doing over the course of this month. We'll also be supplementing these virtual public workshops at the end of it with a survey, the same survey questions that you're seeing here today, so that we can listen to as many people as possible and inform the study. The third step is, once we understand the gaps, the issues and opportunities, is to start to identify solutions that we've heard in meetings like this, or from the various prior plans and studies, that body of work that we're building from, or from our technical analysis and subject matter experts in a wide variety of topics, from transit to rail to freight to resiliency and sustainability and environmental concerns, a broad range of things. If we do our jobs well, when we come back together in the winter of 2025 with you all, you will maybe see some solutions that you presented here today and gave us, or you may hopefully see some solutions to a challenge that you've identified for us here today. So we'll have another round of virtual public workshops at that time. After that, the final stage of the study is to develop the implementation plan, and that's taking all of those solutions and laying out a roadmap for the next steps for those solutions. Projects, programs, and strategies, that'll be in the spring and summer of next year. Next slide, please. And this is the same information. I'm going to pause here so that you can read the same information for those Spanish speakers.
Okay, next slide, please.
So speaking of building from state
Sure. So Dina, we're now ready for the next polling question, please, related to goals. So the question is, please select 2 goals which are most important to you. Number 1 is promote safe travel, maintain streets and highways. Another is support the valley's economy, support affordable development. The third one is to provide equitable transportation investments. Fourth, to prepare for climate change and advance clean technologies. And number 5 is to improve air quality and improve public health. And finally, number 6, to reduce traffic congestion. So please identify your 2 most important goals.
And it looks like we have about 18 of the, I think it's 19 of the 25. We're getting there.
Yes.
Still going. Lots of participation. Okay, I think we're at about 85%.
Yeah, I think we're good, Dina. We'll go ahead and end the poll. So at 22 answers, number 1 is the number 1 pick. Promote safe travel, maintain streets and highways. Next in line is to reduce traffic congestion and then improve air quality and improve public health. Thank you so much for your answers. Our next presenter is Doug Johnson. He's a principal transportation planner with Jacobs Transportation. He'll present information on existing conditions along the corridor, as well as some challenges along the corridor. and then identification of, he'll identify some potential solutions to improve the corridor. Doug?
Thanks, Georgina. Good evening, everybody. And again, I just want to say thank you for spending a bit of your evening with us. Appreciate it very much. So I think one of the first things when we think about the corridor are some of the demographic trends in the corridor from north to south. And recognizing that this planning area stretches, almost 300 miles, we managed to grab quite a few counties, but a couple of patterns are really consistent. And the first is there has been a large amount of growth in every county along the corridor over the last 20 plus years. And Sacramento knows that well, with population growth over 350,000 over that time. Looking forward, some of that growth is forecasted to moderate, but Sacramento and some of the northern counties on the study corridor are expected to continue to see steady growth, which will continue to put increased demands for travel across all types of modes, including car, transit, bicycling, and walking, among others. Next slide. Related to that to the population growth pattern, we see also steady job growth, again, across the corridor north to south, again, with some of the highest total figures occurring at the north end of the study area led by Sacramento. And then looking forward, while in some cases population trends anticipate cooling, we continue to see stronger job growth relative to population growth, which again is expected to continue to increase demand for travel in the corridor. And no doubt, as participants in this meeting, you likely know this story very well. Next slide. I think another really critical piece of getting to know the corridor is understanding and appreciating the layers of the transportation system that serve the communities along this segment of State Route 99. It is, of course, anchored by the state and interstate highway and freeway system, but 99 primarily intersects with state routes, many critical 2-lane roads and 4-lane roads that cross the valley east to west, provide critical connections to Southern California, to the high desert, to the Tahoe region, to the north end of the state, obviously, and also to the Bay Area, whether that's via Altamont Pass or via one of the routes through the Delta. When we kind of layer on to the roadway network, we see that there's also a substantial amount of rail network serving the valley as well, including Burlington Northern Santa Fe and Union Pacific, as well as a number of short haul and short line railroads and commuter railroads, including ACE and the San Joaquins. I think importantly on the rail network, that connection up and out of Bakersfield to the high desert is a critical part of a north-south goods movement corridor for rail and trucks, but it represents this whole section represents a key segment in that north to south goods movement rail corridor from, the high desert and the ports of Los Angeles all the way up to and through Oregon and beyond. Next slide. In addition to those rail operators, we see the section of the segment of 99 is also served by a variety of transit operators. Again, whether it is SAC-RT with a robust bus and light rail network. We also see various bus operators up and down the corridor. As mentioned, we also have commuter rail service and the San Joaquins and Capital Corridor service that crisscross this route or come adjacent, obviously with known and planned investments to improve those services, including the delivery of high-speed rail. In addition to these operators, we also know there are private bus operators serving the corridor, such as FlixBus and Greyhound, as well, providing critical transit service and connections, as well as Amtrak's bus network that also provides connections where the rail system does not serve today. As we start to dig into some of the observed data from the corridor, we see that there's quite a range of daily travel on the corridor. Typical daily two-way traffic volumes range along the corridor from over 200,000 per day down into around 55,000 per day. Next slide. And in the south, the heaviest volumes are found in and around Bakersfield and Fresno, with volumes around 150 to 160,000 vehicles per day. Again, not surprising given the number of state routes intersecting there and the size of those each of those communities and regions. Next slide. And then also, again, as I'm sure you all know, in the northern close up here, we see much higher daily travel the closer we get to Sacramento, with average daily traffic in excess of 200,000 vehicles, per day, but also high volumes of traffic in the Stockton, Modesto region, and those places connecting to 205, and in some of these spots where 99 and I-5 are very close to each other. But looking, farther south past Turlock, you're able to see how some of the volumes do drop off rather quickly. Next slide. Another key theme in looking at the corridor is the relative importance of goods movement in this corridor. And as Seth noted previously, this is one of the state's highest priority freight corridors. And it's been identified as such in various state plans, with 25% of the nation's food produced here and over 25 million tons of goods moved along State Route 99 between Bakersfield and Sacramento, whether those products are farm products, food and beverage, consumer manufacturing, or other durable goods. A variety of different materials and goods come from this part of the state and head towards various ports of the state, whether they are inland ports and logistics centers or if they're heading towards a coastal port as well. It's also understood, though, that with those heavy truck volumes come also higher emissions along these corridors. And as Seth noted, Senate Bill 671's Clean Freight Corridor Initiative named SR 99 as one of its highest priority routes as well, with work to be done to speed its deployment. The slide you're looking at now just shows where some of those heaviest truck volumes are. Again, really centered north and south of Bakersfield and Fresno, and then on those roads, especially connecting to logistics centers around the 205, 120 corridor as well in the north. Next slide. So I'll be handing it back to VRPA to help us poll, but to reflect on some of these key issues that we've just heard about. So with that,
Dina, if you
Georgina.
go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Dina, if you go ahead and bring up the next polling question. So, what are the top 2 challenges traveling on or across State Route 99 in your community? So please identify your 2 top challenges. 1 is development of new homes, jobs, and infrastructure improvements. 2 is high traffic volumes and congestion. The first one, I'm going to read that again. Development of new homes, jobs, and infrastructure impacting trips. 2, high traffic, volumes, and congestion. 3, high volumes of truck traffic and goods movement. 4, unsafe roads or intersections. And 5, do I have alternatives to driving by car? So we've got about 4 hours. We've got a little bit more time to wait here. We had 22 people the last time. Maybe a couple more people. There we go. Okay, Dina, go ahead and end the poll. Great. So it looks like we have, a three-way tie for the most part. Number 2, the first one is high traffic volumes and congestion. And then we've got number 4, which is unsafe roadways and intersections. And then number 5, do I have alternatives to driving by car? Great. Thank you so much for your input. Great answers. Doug? You're going to talk about solutions?
I am. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback, everybody. It's nice to see so many responses. I know we have a couple questions in the chat, and I think we'll have time to get to those shortly, but appreciate the insightful questions. But maybe this will help. One of the important things, as noted earlier about this study, is when we start thinking about some of the solutions we would like to include in the final report a year from now. Next slide. We'll be fortunate that that will get to build upon so many critical work done by so many jurisdictions and agencies who are actively seeking to provide alternatives to alternative forms of transportation in their communities, and to address some of the impacts associated with goods movement, whether that's county plans such as Sacramento's blueprint, high-speed rail business plan, countless bicycle and pedestrian and active transportation plans, and short-range transit plans, as well as planning documents coming from Caltrans as well. We feel lucky and fortunate to have so many partners doing this work, and see this as an opportunity to really start with at least a catalog of wonderful ideas to promote options and alternatives for how communities travel, whether it's along or parallel to State Route 99 or across it in their communities. Next slide. And so as we move into this next phase of the study, the goal is to really layer these concepts and solutions and to build up a suite of strategies to highlight in the final plan, including, as Seth noted earlier, ideas that you all bring to us tonight. So those can be a layered set of improvements starting at the community level, you know, going all the way up to corridor long improvements as well. So it might be concepts like more access for bicycles and pedestrians across State Route 99 as a for example, to, you know, speeding the delivery of rail service parallel to State Route 99 or other, you know, major investments that will, you know, have a much longer scale and quite a bit larger scope as well. So we are going to now hand it to you all. We're keen to see and hear what ideas you might have to you know, address issues and challenges and opportunities you see in your local community, and thinking about how you and your family and others use this corridor and travel along and across this corridor. So with that, I'll hand it back to VRPA, and thank you.
Thanks, Doug. So as Doug mentioned, we're now ready for you to, in the chat box, go ahead and identify what you believe are some potential solutions to address the challenges that we've identified here tonight, or other challenges that you have been thinking about. Some of the examples of solutions are listed on the screen. Some others might include widening freeway off-ramps, new freeway connectors, widening bridges, constructing new bus stops along adjacent streets and roads, roundabouts on adjacent and connecting streets and roads, new and expanded multimodal centers near freeway or State Route 99, including bus, rail, and bike and pedestrian facilities, new bike lanes, extended bike lanes, trails and pedestrian facilities, as well as a number of other solutions. So if you could please provide your answers in the chat box, and we'll give you a few minutes to do so. Thank you so much. And please be very specific, you know, about location. If you know that there's an issue at a specific location that you would like us to know about, if you have a solution for that, identify the challenge and what you believe the solution might be. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Mick, for your comment. Good comment. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, we've seen a number of ideas like that, connections across the SR 99 for bike and ped, reconnecting those communities.
Right.
I see Anthony with invest in commute alternatives. Definitely this CMCPs are all about providing people travel choices through multimodal options.
Yeah, and I see Ralph's comment for expanded rail and transit service along the corridor and in Sacramento as well. Thanks.
There's a question about, or there's comments about, are there plans to provide incentives or assistance to transform some of the freight, I think, from SR 999 to rail? Certainly multimodal options, and especially in this corridor, we are absolutely looking at the freight corridor along this corridor as well. So certainly that's a part of this study.
Thanks for your specific comment, Nick, regarding Florin. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and I also see the comment regarding the potentially dangerous short merges. And I know that Caltrans is looking at those actively, and we'll make sure to be highlighting those as well.
I see regional rail comments, support for San Joaquin train service, Fresno to Sacramento North, so intercity service as well, and more SAC-RT transit service. Those certainly are all on the table.
Some great comments.
See, Susan made a comment about specific locations that she has in mind. If you can drop those into the chat, those would be appreciated as well.
Yeah, again, the more specific you can be, that would be great.
Yeah, and keep them coming, because we're not closing the chat on you.
No, so we'll leave it open another minute or two. Not a problem.
I see
Or
Chris is
open the rest
addressing
of the
Florin
evening.
Mac Road bottlenecks, improvement to the north-south corridors in the Sacramento County. And certainly, whereas it's SR 99 focused, we do have a buffer around the 99 that we're looking at parallel corridors as well. So certainly multimodal options, managed lanes, which are a combination of, say, carpool and transit lanes are all on the table. Those are great comments. I see Susan mentions removal of a southbound entrance circle ramp to the SR 99 at MLK in Sacramento. We'll certainly look at that. A train stop in Galt. Fantastic. We'll certainly be building on, there are a few different plans, including the state rail plan in place right now to look at additional intercity and regional rail services. So that certainly we'll be looking at those as well.
We have some additional time left, so we can leave it open a little bit longer. Not a problem. Please provide your comments, additional comments, whatever is on your mind.
Jeannie asks, can we please let us know how to send more detailed comments to follow up in the workshop? Absolutely. We have a dedicated hotline. You'll see it in a moment, and email that you can send your detailed comments and more time. Freeways are barriers to bicyclists, Walt says, and pedestrian. Does Caltrans have standard for distance between safe, convenient crossing for bikes or peds in urban areas? Interesting. I know we have standards for interchanges, mile spacing, and no less than. I'm not aware of minimums, but we certainly will be, looking at that. And I see that Detroit is building 5 bike ped overcrossings, and certainly we've heard through a number of communities that overcrossings for bicycle and pedestrian connections would be helpful.
Yeah, and thanks, Walt, for making the comment around the movement of truck traffic to rail. Because while obviously there's a strong interest in cleaning up the truck traffic with technology, obviously diverting as much of it as possible to rail is going to be a really important strategy.
Jay Sauter, excuse me if I mispronounced the last name, mentioned that the SR 99 is prone to flooding. I think we had some really visible, national images last year. And absolutely, you'll see that part of our analysis and part of the solution set will include how do we plan for more resilient and sustainable projects in the corridor, including addressing and analyzing specific flooding issues along the corridor. So thank you for that.
Any other comments? Any other solutions?
Lots of great ideas here. Fernando mentions crossover collisions from near county city roads to SR 99. I think those are like merge, probably when you're merging and diverging. Certainly with truck traffic and local traffic that becomes even more challenging in areas in this corridor, we will be looking for those locations. And frankly, we have some data and analysis to look at specifically where those crashes might take place so that we can look for ways to improve and mitigate those. I see Dennis mentions widen 99 from Lodi to Elk Grove. So that sort of remaining 4-lane segment in the south of the region. Looking potentially at multimodal options and how to use that space could certainly be a part of this study.
Okay, are we ready to move to the next?
Yeah, next steps. And while we're at it too, and we'll talk about next steps here, there's a couple of earlier questions I don't want to forget.
Yes.
So one is Rich Lozano asks, within D3 study, and within the D3 study area, there are many communities and there are many different ways to get from one another with many different needs and wants and desires. Is the goal to address solutions that may be specific, or are there broad brush solutions and desires? I think the answer to that, Rich, is we want to do both. We need to look at this corridor, and that's why, in part, the whole corridor of all 300 miles was put out as one study. But at the same time, we need to address the unique needs of all the individual communities along the corridor, and they're all unique. And so if we do our jobs right and through careful listening and analysis, we want to be able to achieve both. We want to address both the local unique needs, but also take a step back and look at the corridor needs. Another question right below that was from Jeannie. Jeannie Ward-Waller asks, are you studying the solutions to support growth in the communities that don't increase vehicle travel on the 99? Are you looking in more detail at where housing and job growth can be supported in tandem with infill supportive travel modes? We are not studying and making recommendations about land use or density or where jobs or housing should be placed in this study. It's a transportation and resilience and sustainability based study. But we will be looking at how do we support multimodal travel. Fundamentally, state and regional policy is focused on supporting travel options. And so where we can support through multimodal choices, job growth, and housing growth that is sustainable, that's going to be the focus of this study. So those were the two questions from earlier. Next steps here. I think this is my slide, Georgina, but June virtual workshop schedule, you can see in gray, the ones that we've accomplished thus far were tonight. Thank you on joining us this evening. You can see the remaining 3 that we have basically throughout the rest of this month. And each of those dates, feel free to join us for those as well. And just to repeat, this definitely is not your only chance to provide us input in this forum or in one of these outreach meetings. Next slide, please.
Yes, so as Seth mentioned previously, this is the process and schedule. He went through it in some detail with you. There are 2 major components of the project still left to go. So as he mentioned previously, there will be another set of workshops that will focus on the solutions that we've discussed tonight and that you've provided, some great solutions in the chat box to us. And then finally, developing the implementation plan. That will be, those are the 2 major next steps in this process. Following this series of community events, we will thoroughly review the feedback that we've received from you tonight, as well as from all of the other events and forums that we have been conducting or that we will be conducting next week. So following the conclusion of all 8 sessions, the team will create an outreach report. Next slide, please. This is the same, again, the same schedule showing in Spanish. So I'll give just a few seconds for the Spanish speakers to read through that again. Okay, next slide, please. So if you have other questions or comments after tonight's session that you want to get to us, that you might have forgotten tonight or that you think about as the evening wears on, you can call the hotline number, as Seth had mentioned previously. The hotline number is 559-272-4561, or you can email us at sr99cmcp@dot.ca.gov. And both of these are shown on the slide. Please follow the directions when using the hotline, and we will return your call with a response or a response to your email within 3 working days. Regarding the information and the video that was presented tonight, as well as the outreach report, which will be prepared following all of these workshops, we will follow up with an email to let you know when and where to find the materials online. Following tonight's workshop, tonight's event, we will be sending out an email to you with an invite that shows all of the remaining sessions, so that if you are interested in attending the last 3 sessions, which are next week, you'll be able to do that. So with that, we want to thank you so much for attending tonight. Your input was wonderful. We got great response from you. As I said, we will be preparing an outreach report, so you will be able to see all the various types of input that we've received throughout this entire process. Again, thank you so much for your time in this important event. Your input is very much appreciated. Good night, everyone.